call today. She's stacked with appointments, and she leaves for Australia next week. So we can all give her our warmest regards as she travels to the Down Under.
There you go.
Awesome.
So hey guys, thank you for sending me in your call logs. You guys want to share a little bit about what you guys had happen this past week?
Well, from my standpoint, it was a light week. I was actually housebound for a couple days this week with a bug, so whatever I got done was Monday and Tuesday, and so it was light contact, but it was important. I made a couple new contacts, people that I've known for a while, but hadn't reached out to since I've been in this business.
Right.
And,
how about you, Kat? I saw you had a pretty good list.
Yeah, I had a pretty good list. I had a lot of no's, a lot of call me back in a few months, and I was cold calling people in the Clemson area, which is about 40 minutes away from here. But it's a market that I want to get into, and I got a lot of no's and a lot of call me back at the end of the year, or call me back at the beginning of the year, or I've got too much family drama to even think about going to coffee with anybody, and it was funny. So I just after every no, I was like, okay, I can't end on a no. I can't stop calling at a no. So I just kept persevering. So that was, I think that was pretty good. That was what kept me going.
So hey, do you guys, and I've never probably asked you guys this, but it was a class that I taught earlier this week that I thought might be really relevant for you, for both of you actually. If somebody gave you guys each a check for $500 and said go market and see if you can't generate a couple leads out of it, how would you guys spend the money?
I'm not sure. I've never looked into advertising and how much it actually costs. But I think that there are a few magazines here in town that are just like really nicely done magazines that I would probably try to get into.
Okay. What about you, Bruce?
I'd probably give the $500 to my wife. She'd probably get it anyway. But based on her talent for social media marketing, I'd utilize her to bolster my social media platform and generate a business that way.
Okay. Both of those are very traditional and very obvious sources of generating leads. Is it safe to say that if we had a choice to work with somebody, we'd rather work with somebody that already knew us, liked us, and trusted us? Would that be a more preferable way to do business?
Sure.
Okay. So here's the question that was posed to me within a month or two of me getting in the business back in 1996, so it's not mine. This is not my approach, but one that I was taught. So the gentleman that brought me into the company or into the industry sat me down and said, I'm going to give you $500, and I want you to market to generate some leads. How do you think you could go about doing that? And I gave the traditional, what I thought was a traditional marketing approach. And he leaned across the table from me and he looked at me and said, pretty much the same thing. He goes, how come you don't consider the people that already know you and like you and trust you? Why would you spend $500 on trying to attract people that don't have a clue who you are? You have really no reputation to speak of at this point. Why would you market yourself to the general population when you have a slew of people in your life that already know you, like you, and trust you, and if called upon would help you if you asked? I was like, wow, I never thought about that. He says, take $100 and pull aside 5 of your greatest contacts, friends, immediate family, but don't go and sit down and drink and have a great time with them. Take them to a dinner or a nice lunch, but have a very specific conversation with them about helping you. And a lot of the times we run into a challenge with asking people for help because either it feels salesy to us or we just don't feel like we can put ourselves in that position with somebody. And I'm here to tell you that one of the greatest missteps we make is that we typically will go into a marketing mindset like everybody else does. Well, we've already decided that you guys are not like everybody else. Your approach to business is not like everybody else. You guys offer more value because you guys know how to communicate at a very high level with your client or referral partners. You know, you guys understand the value of communication as it relates to consulting and negotiating and managing people's fears and expectations. Maybe the idea of partnering with a phone book or the media or Facebook or so forth to generate realtor opportunities may not be the best course of action. Have you guys explored the route of talking to people in your life and asking them for help? And I say that, and I know, Kat, you and I have talked about this before, but more in the lines of sitting down with somebody and making a very honest and very humble request. And it has to be in that mindset, because otherwise it feels like you have an agenda. And the truth is, you guys don't have an agenda. What you guys are trying to do is expand your brand. There's a gentleman out there by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk who talks about we all have a brand. And the brand that we have is not what we do, it's who we are. So when you're brought to a place to where you need help from somebody, you can't make it about doing mortgages or transactions. It has to be about how you help other people. So my approach to this has always been very, very humble in this respect. Bruce, Kat, you know what? Thank you guys for meeting with me. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. You know, recently I've come to the conclusion that this is really going to be a career path for me. I believe wholeheartedly in my heart that this is probably going to be the best way that I can help impact people's lives. And the way that I'm doing it is through mortgages, but I feel like what it gives me a chance to do is to become so much more than just a person that does a mortgage, because I honestly believe that my role in, or my brand, is really to let people know that they have a friend in the business. And by friend in the business, it doesn't mean that I want to be chummy or buddy-buddy with them, but I treat them and want them to see me as somebody that they can trust and rely on and count on, and not really just for the mortgage aspect of it. It really becomes more of a, I want to consult with people. I want to help people understand what their greatest struggles and challenges and issues are as it relates to finance. And it's not so much I got to do financial planning, but when you consider people's largest investment, which is their home, there's a lot of information that's out there that's just wrong, that's very confusing, that's very misleading. And so what I'm asking you here today is, because you guys are great friends of mine, I'm asking you for some help, because what I'm looking to do is get in front of as many people as I can who are considering looking at a mortgage, whether it's a refinance or a purchase. Ideally, I'd love to sit down with somebody who would like to talk about doing a mortgage, but right now I'm more interested in just finding out ways to help people and just educate them. And my goal in doing that, Kat and Bruce, is really simple. I want them to come back to you and say thank you. Because at the end of the day, I want them to know that they have a friend in the business, because I know you already believe that. And the only way that I can do this business, the only way I can grow this business the right way, which is the way that my heart tells me to and the way that people really believe that business should be done, is by being introduced to others through people that already know, like me, and trust me. I spent the last week cold calling realtors. That is a brutal process. And you guys may have never experienced that, but anytime you get rejected, it's really tough. And I know that my value is so high that instead of trying to go out there and convince people, I'd rather just talk to the people that already know me and ask them if they could commit to introducing me to people in their life who don't necessarily need a mortgage, but somebody who I could sit down and help educate about what options are available if they're considering any kind of financing needs with their home. Is that a conversation that you guys have had or are having or thought about having or are afraid to have with the people that are closest to you? Kat, I know that your husband, I'm sure that's obvious. And Bruce, I know Vicki, same thing. But how are those, I mean, a lot of the times when you guys are out there asking for business, you're asking for transactions, and that sets the tone for who you are. Is anybody feeling like they are having conversations that are similar to that?
Starting to have conversations that more along that line. Need to do a bit. Need to get better at it. Need to do it. Make it a basically part of every conversation that I have with people that I know. So it's a start.
Right. Denise, my wife, and I had a conversation last night, and I'll tell you something funny that happened, and this is kind of important. So you guys, I want you guys to listen to this really carefully. So a client of mine called me back and said, "Hey, listen, one of my coworkers is looking at doing a mortgage, but he's from Germany, and he's not sure what he's doing. I know that you can take care of him." I said, "Constantine, my pleasure." So Denise, being the licensed loan officer, and I met with the couple, and we sat down, and I spent 15 minutes in the beginning really just hammering and conveying and relaying the information about my business. Our business is predicated on relationships and referrals. Your referral, Constantine, who referred you, is of our utmost concern, and by making him a priority, you in turn become a priority. Our job today is to help educate you about what your choices are, what your options are. If you decide to work with us, that'd be great, but at the end of the day, it's okay if you decide not to. Our number one concern is making sure you get the right information, blah, 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 blah. So I did my presentation, I left. 20, 30 minutes later, Denise comes back. She says, "Yeah, they gave me all the information." She goes, "But I got to tell you, you laid that on pretty thick. Man, I felt uncomfortable." And I said, "Wow, okay, well, that's something to pay attention to." So the gentleman just closed on his house a week and a half ago, and earlier in the day, Denise got a referral from him because she asked him at the closing for a referral. 2 weeks later, we get a referral, and she's like, "What should I say to the guy?" And I said, "What do you think you should say?" She's like, "Well, I just wanted to call and tell you that, I'm thankful that you decided to call us," and on and on and on. And I stopped her and I said, "Listen to what you're saying." She goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm making it all about me." And I said, "You are." I said, "Here, let's talk about it this way." The point in this long out story is that Denise is my wife, and she lives and breathes with me day in and day out. And I've been preaching this to her for years. She's been with the company for more than 2.5 years, almost 3 years. The truth is that, Bruce, this stuff doesn't just happen overnight. It almost has to be, well, it has to be a mind shift. It has to be where you guys, when you pick up the telephone, you got to stop believing that you're just a loan officer. Because when you pick up the phone and you get the no's, most of the time it's because the people that you're talking to have their own struggles and challenges to deal with. And most of them, like I've said in the past, they can't even balance a checkbook, so the ones that say no are probably a blessing to you. The truth is that there's only so many of those calls that you can make in a day before you want to just and cover up and just have the day go by. The reality is that there's other ways that you can go out there and find success. And it's not always just in that traditional marketing approach. You have a network of people, and a network of people that would gladly help you if you asked. And that's the point of the ask. You're not asking for transactions anymore. I don't want you guys asking for transactions. What I'm asking you for is to go out there and seek opportunities to talk to people about what their options are. I don't believe for a moment that I'm the best mortgage person in the world for everybody. I believe that I'm the best mortgage person to talk to about what your options are because I come from a place of want and not need. And the reality is that when we approach conversations like I'm just trying to get a coffee, that's okay. But the truth is that when they say no to you, you have to realize that they're not open and you'd be wasting your time anyway. But there are some situations like you had that happened last week, Kat, where you find a chance opportunity and you kind of get in, and next thing you know, you've got a great relationship established. Mm-hmm. That's one approach. And I'm curious to know if you guys are really buying into that conversation, because for as many calls as you guys are making, for as many people as each of you guys know, your ability to grow your business is only going to be limited based on how committed you are of making yourself available to people. Meaning, you may have to call 30 people in a day and get 15 no's and get 10 maybes and maybe 3 appointments in the coming weeks and 2 people never returned your call. But that enthusiasm to pick up the phone and go, "Listen, I'm not interested in getting mortgage loans." Let me be clear about that for a second. Through the law of reciprocity. Do you guys know what the law of reciprocity means?
Yes.
Kat?
Yes, I think.
What do you think it means, Kat?
That I can't verbalize it. That you keep doing it, then you're going to get something out of it.
Right. The true nature of reciprocity is when you give something away and you don't expect anything in return, it usually comes back to you in anyway. However, when you do something and you expect something in return, that feels almost manipulative or coercive. And I'll send you a handout that I wrote a while back, but it really just talks about how the law of reciprocity in its nature is when you hold the door open for somebody and they say thank you, that's the law of reciprocity. I'm not holding the door open to hear you say thank you. I'm holding the door open because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to hold the door open for an old lady or a young lady or holding the door open for a woman. I hold the door open for people in need. I hold the door open for whomever. As an example, that's just who I am. I don't do it because I'm craving a thank you or I'm craving an attaboy. That's not why I do it. But understand that when somebody acknowledges that from me, I love to hear it. But I don't set out to open the door for people in that respect. When I was traveling last, I walked through the airport in Atlanta, and there was a heavier set black lady that walked out of a chocolate store, and I didn't know she was heavy set because I didn't pay attention to that. But we were walking next to one another, and I said, "Wow, it must be nice having it." And she worked for the TSA or somebody, and I said, "It must be nice having a chocolate shop, at work." And she's like, "Honey, you got to be out of your mind. Chocolate people shouldn't be buying chocolate at a chocolate store." She says, "I'm getting fat in my hips just by looking at this stuff." And she pointed at her butt and, whatever. She was a larger woman. And we laughed and we walked probably a couple hundred feet together just laughing and having a good time. I'm constantly amazed at how much people want to talk and socialize with other people when you don't have an agenda. When you realize that what you're there to do is just to help people and to be of service. That's the part when you really become powerful beyond measure. One of the things that you guys have to realize is that when you believe that you're only as good as as good as transactions, you're only going to sell transactions. And that's unfortunate because you guys do not provide just transactions. That's not your brand. So one of the things that beyond just the people that you know that you guys are working on is you're really just limiting yourself to just the real estate market. And I appreciate that, but I'm sorry, just realtors. What I want you guys to start looking at is there are other pillars of your business, but getting in front of people in order to ask for help requires you to stop thinking of yourselves as just loan officers and seeking transactions. You guys are seeking opportunities to help build better relationships between people. You guys know that when you ask for help and somebody refers somebody to you, you know that that person's going to go back and say thank you to the person that referred them to you. Isn't that really your brand? Isn't your brand just to help strengthen and build up relationships by introducing yourself to other people who you know people you know? Isn't that kind of what we're about? We get paid to do mortgages. We get paid to do mortgages, but what we really are at our core and at our heart, we are genuinely great people that want to help others. It just happens to be we do mortgages. Kat used to do finance. Bruce, I know you used to do something else. Your gifts have nothing to do with mortgages. And what you do every time you pick up the phone is you're giving a chance to frame yourself in another way. Picking up the phone and asking a realtor saying, listen, you don't know me from Adam, but I'm wondering if you could help me out with something. I've heard great things about you in the real estate market, and I'd love to pick your brain. You don't even have to tell them you do mortgages, because to be honest, you're not calling them about mortgages. You're calling them to expand your brand about how you can share with somebody how good you are at helping people manage their finances when it comes to a mortgage, that they're going to come back to that realtor and say thank you. But when you pick up the phone, I wonder, Kat and Bruce, I wonder what your initial conversation's like. What's it like?
Well, most of my calls for the last month or two have been with people that I've got some sort of a relationship with. I've done very little cold calling in the last couple months.
Okay. Okay. And what does that conversation look like to you? Or how does it sound on the phone?
In some cases, it's people that I haven't talked to in a while. Just want to reintroduce myself or just touch base with you, let you know what I'm doing these days.
Yep.
And I utilize the trying to help others through my BNI presentations as well. So that's really my focus, is to talk about I'm out here to help people, help them in many areas that they need help. In particular, I can talk about mortgage. I can talk about finance. I can talk about credit repair. I can help them with any other issues, problems they may have by virtue of the circle of people that I associate with.
Right. Right. Do you know why people refer you? Kat, Bruce, do you guys have any idea why people refer you?
I think at the end of the day, it's about how we make them feel. It's, whether it's through a mortgage process or any other part of our life. It's at the end of the day, we've enjoyed our time together, and perhaps I've helped them. Perhaps I've made their life easier or better.
Right. People refer you when they're talking about you. When people remember you, they refer you. When people remember what you've done for them, when they remember how you've made them feel, they talk about you to other people. But it goes a step beyond that. Remembering and asking people for help is only a part of the process. In my brief conversation with you where I role play with you a little bit, I believe I said the word commitment. I asked you guys for a commitment to help me out. Could you commit to introducing me to 2 people in the next week who you think I could talk to as it relates to helping them with a mortgage? Now, the hard part for you guys is you guys are trying to build this momentum with very little as far as the database goes and experience. The other approach to this is understanding that you are more than just a loan officer and an originator. You guys are connectors. And Kat and Bruce, I know we've talked about this before. You guys have a tremendous network of people who obviously you could help out, right? Are there people in your life that you guys know in certain trades and certain businesses who you might be able to connect them with other people? Is that
absolutely
unreal? Is that unrealistic to think? I mean, Kat, you said the other day you got your husband a personal training client, right?
Mm-hmm.
How come that isn't on a bigger and much broader scale? You know, in my business as a consultant, my clients typically need my service only for, once every couple of years. Most of the time, they rarely keep up to new, they don't really care about mortgages. Once every couple of years, they might need something or if the economics changed. I've always joked with my clients that mortgages aren't sexy. They're just not. There's nothing special about it. So how do I stay exciting to my clients? So if you would have come into my office in 2013, you guys would have sat at my desk, looked at my computer, which was off to the side, but on the other side was this wall of it was a plastic housing of business cards. And I've shared that with you guys before. That was purposely put in my office next to where my clients sit for a reason, because I wanted them to see it. I wanted them to ask me a question about it. There's only one way that you can stay in front of clients throughout the year, and that is A, by staying in touch with them, but also by making yourself more valuable than just being a loan officer. Becoming a resource, caring about their problems, making an effort to solve them, finding a need and filling it. When I used to talk to my friends, I didn't market myself as a loan officer or an originator. I marketed myself as a mortgage professional. I marketed myself as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. I always wanted people to think of me as a connector. I love the fact that when people looked at the board, they would take business cards out of it. And they would say, yeah, do you need a service? Let me introduce you to them. And I would make a very high-level effort to make that introduction happen. And you always talk about, hey, listen, I've got a guy for that. When you talk to people about things and you find a need, you're like, oh, hey, you know what? I got a guy you should talk to. Hey, I got a guy, one of the loan officers in my office named Todd Barr, who you guys will meet at the conference, just came into my office today and said, hey, listen, what do you normally tip people for detailing a car? And I said, to be honest, one of my best friends does it. I said, I've never really had to tip anybody. And it made me realize that I'm not really connecting people anymore. I never would have let that happen for my buddy. I would have made sure that everybody that was around me knew that Corey was my detailer guy, especially the guy that shares an office next to me. You know, I want people to remember me as being the guy that has a guy. I want them to remember me as being a resource. I wanted them to remember me as being a yellow pages or a go-to person when they needed something. You know, yes, I'm the guy that knows people. And when you need a mortgage, I've got a guy for that too. I'm the guy. But in the meantime, in between the times of a couple years where you need my financing, I have a guy. I have somebody that I can help you with. Now, it requires you to look at your business a little bit differently, but you guys need to be expanding your resources because you guys probably have 10 people who you guys could put on a welcome package to a new homeowner. Go talk to a plumber. Go talk to a landscaper. Go talk to a painter. Go talk to somebody who does cement work. Go talk to anybody that relates to somebody who's going to need something when they buy a house. Go talk to a local pizza joint. I don't care who it is. But go talk to people and build up a housewarming Rolodex of people. And make that a contact. Talk to the owners of the business. Explain to them what you're doing. Because don't the owners of the business have employees? And don't the owners of the business have friends?
Yep.
And don't you think they would love to know who you are as it relates to helping them with their business? And in turn, what do you think they're going to do for you? What are they going to do?
They're going to refer you business.
If you help somebody and solve them a problem or make yourself known to them and they like you and you make them feel good because you care more about helping them than you do about making a transaction, what are they going to do, Kat?
They're talking about you.
They're going to return the favor, yeah.
Reciprocity. Mm-hmm. The reality is you're not doing you're not building a relationship with a contractor because you hope to get business from him. You're having a relationship because you know it's going to be of great value to your clients. That's why you're doing it. And then it helps separate you from all the other loan officers in the business. So then you don't have to constantly sit down and talk to realtors all day long. Your friends and your family and your acquaintances are also great conversations to have. And not just, hey, I'm in the mortgage business, don't keep me a secret. Hey, I'm in the mortgage business, but you know what? I'm kind of more than that. There's more to it than just me doing loans. And I'm starting to recognize that because this is a career path for me, and you'll notice what I post on my Facebook page in the Band of Partners was that whole job, business, career, and calling. And when you talk about loans, you're talking about self-service, and that's in a job mentality. When you start thinking about others and start building processes and systems and operations around how you can serve others, you become elevated in on those steps. And honestly, with as many people as you guys talk to, with as many people as you guys are connecting with, your value is not being recognized because you're still hiding behind the belief that all you're as good as is just a loan officer, and you're not. Your brand is not mortgages. That's not what you're telling people you are. Your brand is not even close to being mortgages. Your brand is not, it's beyond helping people. Your brand is strengthening relationships between the people you care about and making other people feel good about their decision to refer you. You could do it if you're selling pizzas. You could do it if you were selling pipes. You could do it if you were selling, whatever. Everything that you guys do isn't relegated to just mortgages. That's why picking up the phone and saying to a realtor, hey, listen, I wanted to pick your brain. You're not a loan officer looking for a mortgage. You're a business owner looking for advice on how you can best serve your clients. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Why are you laughing at me, buddy?
Oh, it just makes so much sense when you say it, and it's hard for me to process that on my own sometimes.
I get it. That's why I told you the story of Denise. Denise fights it every single day. She loses sight of it, but when I remind her, she's like, oh my gosh, and then she does it last night, and the client eats out of her hand, and she's like, it's amazing. It's the constant, repetitive, remembering application of why you guys are doing this. Stop acting like loan officers. You're not in the mortgage industry, guys. You happen to get paid to do mortgages, but you guys are not in the mortgage industry. You guys are in the relationship business. You guys are in the I make people feel good business, and I make people look good business. Truly, that's what you do. I mean, Kat, your husband, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Kenyon?
Kenyon, mm-hmm.
Kenyon? Kenyon's in the business of making people look good and feel good. He's not a personal trainer. That's not where his brand is. Everybody's a personal trainer. But I believe that in my heart, if Kenyon is as good as I think he is, he's not in the business of being a personal trainer. He's in the business of making people feel good and look good. And he could do that if he was selling clothes. He could do that if he was selling sneakers. He could, I mean, it doesn't matter. His mindset around what he does is not about lifting weights and dieting. Those are tools in which he accomplishes his goal, just like mortgages are a tool that accomplishes your goal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You guys are quiet today. Maybe I'm being a little too rough on you.
No, it's hitting home for sure, I think.
Just processing. It all makes, like I said, it all makes sense. It makes more sense when you say it. I'm just trying, it's kind of, as you said, make it an everyday practice to where it becomes just a part of me as opposed to something I'm trying to communicate.
All right, I just had a brainstorm. I'm going to throw this at you guys. I'm not even going to give you a choice about it. Next week, Kat, you're going to teach the class. Cheryl and I and Bruce are going to be on the call, and you're going to teach us something that you have learned, and you're going to spend a half-hour period of the call talking to us and teaching us, because that's going to make me believe you get it. Bruce?
Yes, sir.
You're going to take the second half of the call for an hour, and you're going to teach us something totally different than what she did, so maybe you guys should talk to one another and figure out what you guys are going to talk about, but you guys have plenty of classes. I'm going to send you this replay, and you guys can listen to it, but I want next week, I want you guys to do the talking. I want you guys to teach it as if you're teaching a realtor. I want you to teach it as if you're going to talk to somebody that doesn't know who you are. I want you to teach us about your brands, and I want you to do it in a way that you could teach another loan officer the same thing.
Okay.
Ooh, now it gets real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to speak on it, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Do you guys feel like you guys are ready for that?
No.
Be ready. We'll be ready.
Okay.
I gotta wait.
You guys know that my phone is always available to you, but you have until next Friday. So if you feel like you don't want to call me and talk to me about it, no problem. But I want you guys to stand up in the call, and and we'll record it, and I want you guys to hear yourselves. I want to hear you, and you can make it as simple as, I've learned how to present myself differently in front of realtors, and I want to hear your presentation that you're going to give to a realtor. Maybe it's how you ask your clients for help. Maybe it's how you talk to a referral partner. Maybe, I don't care what it is, but I want to hear what your presentation is going to be like, and then we're going to record it, and then you're going to hear it back. Then you're going to start realizing what you sound like, and then you'll start, maybe paying attention to what it is that you're actually, conveying.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be. I promise you that.
It'll be a learning
moment.
Come on,
guys. What's that?
It'll be a defining moment.
Oh, it's going to be a great day because you guys don't have to worry about talking about mortgages. You can talk about just who you are, and that should be easy. Everybody likes talking about themselves. All right, guys. I'm done for the day. That's all I got.